Hey, everybody. Happy Sunday. Ed Carbajal here for MMAnews.com. If you're not following me on Twitter, make sure you give me a follow where I stream this as I recorded on Twitter at carbazal.com. and if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, sorry, it was a late night last night. 2 title fights. You know how that goes, but even though they didn't go the distance, but we're going to get into that in a minute. If you're watching this on the YouTube channel, make sure you do the thumbs up, bell notification for new videos. Where these videos live. We have new interview with Diego Fajeda from courtesy of the Canadian god James Lynch. And let's get right into it, man, because UFC 269 was one of the I'm trying to think. I mean, if you were to measure the cards that the UFC put on as far as it's the last pay-per-view of the year, and if you're to measure them, I feel like as far as booking, this one is one of the top ones. As far as overall results and stuff like this is kind of up there too because of what happened. So I mean, let's not fuck about, shall we? Let's get right into it. Upset plus 650 underdog that I did not bet like an asshole. And truth be told, I say that because I'm one of the people that did not pick Juliana Pena to win. I mean, that's why she was plus 600 when I submitted my picks to MMAnews.com and SureDog, where I also contribute. And on the other podcasts I do, like nobody. I think by the time the fight started, she went from plus 600 to plus 650. Favorite for Nunes was like minus 1100. I think it was 900 again when I was doing this was like the Wednesday before. I mean, it's crazy. And this is a screenshot from MMAnews.com of the 7 takeaways pieces that I do for all the pay-per-views. And I'll be scrolling along just to use it as reference. If you guys haven't watched it before, that's what I do when we talk about the fights. But there's so much to take away from this event, not just what I saw, because even afterward, there's other things. I watched it and watched the main card live as it happened, watched the prelims. I caught the Emmett Ige fight just before the pay-per-view started. And then this morning, before I started recording this, I actually caught up on the rest of the card. So there's a lot to talk about, but this is obviously what everyone's talking about today, so we're going to jump right into that. New bantamweight champion for the ladies over there at the UFC, Juliana Pena, who has been, when you look at her journey, if you haven't watched her post-fight press conference, I highly recommend it. I was just watching it as I was having my coffee this morning too, where she talks about a lot of what she said before the event. You know, people were nitpicking when they were going back and forth at the pre-fight press conference as far as like her worthiness of the title shot and the quality of opponents that Amanda fought. I mean, because she was kind of saying like, Amanda Nunes hadn't fought anyone, which I disagree with, because she fought former Invicta champion like Megan Anderson, Felicia Spencer. I mean, Chris Cyborg. She's fought a lot of she was a minus 1100 because of the people she's beaten, right? And so she was talking about how she was ducking her or whatever, and somebody, I forget who it wasn't John Morgan, it was whoever, after him, asked where did the ducking talk come from, and she gave a long storied history that when you hear her tell it and you start remembering things, especially if you're forgetting things because of your advanced age like myself, it made a lot of sense. And she was like, she was dropping dimes on like Ultimate Fighter, possible coaching situations. It was supposed to be her and Nunes, and there was something always preventing the fight from happening, going all the way back to her injuries. Like, I mean, if you heard she's had a laundry list of injuries. Then she became a mom, had a child, and I'm not even going to get into the stuff people are talking about on social media today. Like, fuck off with that already. But she didn't say it, and I don't think she said what she said in a disrespectful way. She was just pointing out the differences of the types of mothers that are out there. But anyway, She talked about that. I mean, the laundry list of injuries while she was away. Then when she was back and ready to fight, she picked up a loss, and then there was Nunes got COVID twice, and so that's where all the ducking stuff was coming from on her end, and she did say a lot of it was based off of a rumor from someone on the Nunes side of Nunes camp. So listen, I mean, you really should only listen to what you know. I mean, rumors are rumors. I mean, we've all got stories where we hear rumors. I mean, it's best to do, as they say, it's best to do your own research and come up with your own opinions. So, and sometimes you could just be a dumbass like myself and forget how tough Pena is. You know, I think I think activity speaks for a lot as far as fans. There's that saying about you're only as good as your last win and things like that. But um, she's she's definitely when I listened to her story and I started remembering the fights that I remembered her for, and how she talked about how folks say that she was only good on the ground, and it's crazy because if I saw her winning, I think, excuse me, when I did my like preview thing with on the podcast I do, Coast to Coast Combat Hour with Matt Hawkins. Check it out if you haven't. Um, I said that like her submission prowess was probably something that she could pull off. But I didn't think it was going to happen because it's not like Amanda Nunes is a slouch. But even Dana White said afterward, like you could tell who really took this fight seriously and who didn't. And one of the rumors that, and this is just from after the post-fight press conference, they're not my opinions, but one of the rumors that Pena said she heard was that Nunes wasn't really training to fight. I mean, we've talked about her considering either relinquishing one of the two titles that she held, because now she only holds the 145 one. And just like retiring as the GOAT. She is a parent now, and a lot of times people would want to walk away to focus on other things in life, especially when you've been fighting as long as all these fighters sometimes fight. Some of them go on almost 20 years of a career, especially if they start when they're like 19 or something like that. Which she said she first walked in. She said she was 18 or 19 years old when she first walked into the gym that she started training at. So it made sense, sort of. But I mean, listen, if anything, if you've been watching this, the sport is going on 30 years old, right? It's 28, 29, 28, 29, 30 years old. It's in that aspect, it's young, but in that short time, we've seen goats lose. I hate that term, greatest of all time. We've seen everyone that's picked up that term, take their L's. Even George St. Pierre, who was able to walk away, with a win. He had some upsets. People were actually saying, measuring like greatest upsets in UFC history. One of them is when the GSP lost to Matt Serra, right? And this is up there with that. I mean, if not, it's more so because of how dominant. I mean, because Nunes was a 2 division champ, super dominant. So when we look at the aftermath of that, and we'll get to the other, and we're going to get to the main event in a second. Crazy that this was a co-main event, and that's what more people are talking about than the main event. But it's worthy mentioning a lot of stuff on this card we're going to get to. But the thing is now, because this was the bantamweight division title fight, Pena is now the top of that division. When they asked her, one of the questions they asked her was like, does she want to do the champ thing? And she was just like, I just got this belt. Fucking chill out. Let me enjoy it and absorb it. And she took a lot of, she went razor focused. I mean, she did so much as to literally like just toss her phone. She said she hadn't had her phone with her all week. And she is a mother. She said she wants to spend time with her kids and her family and stuff like that. So, especially this time of year, I think we need to let her. We probably won't hear anything about what she's going to do with that belt until like February, March, and that's just my opinion. I'm taking a guess because a lot of promoters and fighters that I've talked to recently that have fought recently or around this time, especially within the last, Thanksgiving to now, have all said, they're all looking at February, March returns, promoters, fighters, what have you. And the other thing is Pena's side of things. So Dana White said in the post-fight press conference, we'll do, if Amanda wants to do the rematch, they're going to do the rematch. And when they spoke to Juliana Pena, of course she's on board for the rematch, but she also said there's a couple of fights that she wants to get back, a la the losses to Shevchenko, and I forget who the other fight was she mentioned, but interesting to see where they go from there. What's more interesting is because Nunes is a champ, or now just the champ at 145. She's there is this question of who was in Kayla Harrison was in attendance. She was at the fighters only thing. If you know, Kayla Harrison is the lightweight champion over at the PFL. We know she can make 145 if she wants to. I mean, she's an Olympic competitor. She could probably make 135 if she wanted to. But I mean, she's trying to, do more. She's trying to be an advocate for, because the whole weight cutting issue and stuff. She's trying to be an advocate for kind of like, healthier ways of competing. And the Professional Fighters League gave her 2 seasons to do that, and she won the 2 seasons division, women's lightweight division, both times. While she was out, she competed at 145. That's how we know she could make 145 and do the similar performances that she's been doing at the Professional Fighters League, because she picked up the win at Invicta FC while the PFL was on hiatus due to COVID. So one of the questions folks were asking was, especially to Dana White, and what's next, because Kayla Harrison, as is right now, December 12th, the Sunday after UFC 269, she's still, as far as we know, a free agent, and she told everyone to fuck off last week in Vegas that kept asking about it. I mean, we'll know when she lets us know, right? It probably won't be until next month when the year starts, because I know the PFL probably don't want to let that go either. However, one of the things that as far as the UFC's featherweight division seems to always kind of be like, is it going to be around or isn't it? And I think Dana White has kind of hinted in the past it's really up to Amanda Nunes what happens there, because she's the current champion of the division. So now that's the only title she holds. So if she wants to rematch, maybe let Harrison go do another season at the PFL or Bellator, which, I mean, in my opinion, that's where I'd love to see her, because we know Coker would take her, have her fight Chris Cyborg right away, because that's another fight that's been coming up through Harrison's PFL career. I mean, when I covered her 2019 championship fight that week, that was literally Cyborg or Nunes that they kept asking her about. And I don't understand why people keep asking her about fighting her friend and training partner, Amanda Nunes. I know it's business. I know it's competition, and everyone knows that. But it's just like a weird thing to keep asking someone. I mean, never mind all that. I think I said this on a previous Sunday submission before too, but it's who knows you better than your training partner, especially if it's someone, if you're on the competition team, there's only like a small circle of people that do that and know, like, it's like, I mean, granted, I'm a hobbyist, but me and the other purple, brown, and black belts at the gym I train at, we all know each other very well. We all know the moves. It's almost become just a routine workout. So think about that at the level that these women compete at. If you don't think that Nunes and Harrison know each other's strengths and weaknesses, then, I mean, it's going to cause one of those rifts. Look back at Usman and Gilbert Burns. I know I definitely talked about this. They wound up having to stop being training partners because they wound up fighting each other. And it was definitely not a comfortable situation for them to be in. So even their coaches and stuff. So I think the smart move or the smart money would be on Harrison going to Bellator. Fight at 145 for a little bit, and then maybe come back to the PFL, because that's where she kind of cut her teeth and molded into from a Olympic judoka to a mixed martial artist. But I mean, fantastic fight. I mean, listen, I'm really mad I didn't put any money on you, Miss Pena, but I'm really glad that you won. It was actually one of the things me and Matt on the podcast I do both said we were kind of like, we'd be happy to see her win, because we know she's been she's been through it. She mentioned it at the post-fight press conference, so that was really really nice to see. So, but the main event, the lightweight man, Charles do Bronx keeps his belt. That's another one I was wrong on. I didn't have a good year with my picks. Started off really strong, but definitely slipped in the last month or two, month and a half or so. Hurts, but Charles Oliveira, Charlie Olives, as the fan stands, UFC stands, or whatever you call your bird asses, picks up his first title defense after he won it. With Khabib walking away and stuff like that. So people were wondering about his fortitude. I was one of the people that picked against him because, and again, we talk about if you look at like the way Pena won and how Dustin Poirier is, they call him the diamond because pressure builds diamonds or whatever the saying is, and it looks like the same held true if you look back not just at his recent victories, but like Charles Oliveira's career and the criticisms folks had about him. He seems to have taken the losses and all the beatings and stuff and toughened up over it. Because when I submitted my picks at MMAnews.com for this event, the reason I picked Poirier to win was because I thought Poirier would be the more brutal fighter and more durable fighter, but it looks like becoming champion has added to Charles Oliveira's durability. And he did get hurt. I mean, Poirier put it on him, but it looked like he fought through it and solidified. There's another saying about you can get the title, but you're not really champion until you defend it. And I think that happened a lot when McGregor was champ and wouldn't defend. So I was pretty impressed with it. And listen, when the fights are that great and my picks are wrong, but they're that great, I don't mind that I don't mind being wrong. I do mind not putting money on the underdogs though. Jillian Pena. So plus 650. And I'm going out of order on the takeaways because obviously those are the co-main and main event. But I mean, there's so much to take away from the fight, and like Dominick Cruz's win last night. Man, that was I mean, I think they got the fight of the night nod too. But that was one of those fights that because of the stupid drama that went on Fight Week because of what he said about Daniel Cormier's commentary and how I don't understand how the things that people decide to focus on. But that seemed to be the focus of the week. Even when I talked about it on the podcast I do, as we did our preview for this, when Matt brought it up, I mean, I took it as, I mean, these guys know each other. You saw them. Cormier, if you didn't watch Cormier's YouTube channel, he approached him about it and they talked about it. And I mean, I took it as them breaking balls. I mean, if you're from, if you're of like in this type of environment where locker room environment, ball breaking, I mean, I'm from New Jersey. We break New York and New Jersey. We break each other's balls all the time. It's almost a sign of affection, but to the untrained, more delicate eyes, they'll see it as something as being offensive. So, but I mean, well, your friends aren't your friends if they're not being honest with you, right? So either way, it looked like that stole away from what Dominick Cruz has been able to do in his life, which is he was the WEC champion. I mean, I know when he's on the shelf again. I just talked about that with Pena. When you're on the shelf and you're injured, you're not in the public eye so much, so to speak. But we saw what he's made of. I mean, as far as doing homework, we saw what he was made of in this fight. I mean, when Munoz almost finished him in the first round, I was just kind of like, dude, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy. I thought we were going to start seeing the decline of Dominick Cruz, but I mean, he said they interviewed him afterward, and he said he wouldn't mind a fight with Jose Aldo. I don't think we would mind that either. I mean, that would be I mean, talk about you want a main event. That's a main event right now, right there. And speaking of main events, Kara France. I mean, not that he was a main event, but he when he picked up his, I mean, he knocked out Cody Garbrandt. Cody Garbrandt's attempt to move to 125. This is one of the ones I did get right, but I didn't mind him calling out the winner of Figueiredo and Moreno for the flyweight title. I mean, does he deserve a flyweight shot? I don't know. Flyweight division is getting super exciting. One of my associates over at SureDog tweeted like, "Is the bantam? I mean, these guys are flyweights, but he was like, is the bantamweight division becoming more popular than the lightweight division?" I want to say just all the lighter guys. That's why 155 has always been that measuring mark. But I think the guys that are lighter than that are always going to be. I mean, if you haven't been watching flyweights and stuff like that, like the time that no one was paying attention to Demetrius Johnson, I loved all those fights when he was the flyweight champion at the UFC. It used to piss me off when people were talking shit about Mighty Mouse and what he did over at when he was with the UFC champion. So I mean, these lighter weights are, I mean, because of their fast pace. Somebody said it during I think it was during this fight. Cormier might have said like everyone's fast at or I'm sorry, he said it in his little hype video. Kara France said it, everyone's fast at flyweight. So I didn't mind his call out. I wouldn't mind seeing that fight, or if not, definitely put him up there with somebody that'll get him close to that. But there's a lot of fun fights to make. Trying to think what else did I put down here? I mean, there's I didn't put it on here, but it deserves mentioning. It's not one of the 7 takeaways on this piece, but if you go to the results, you'll see Erin Blanchfield, who picked up a win for the women's flyweight. I mean, that's going to be interesting there. She beat Miranda Maverick. That was one I got wrong, but I wasn't surprised that she won. I mean, both women are super tough. But anyway, speaking of one of the fights in that weight class, Jillian Robertson picked up a win. She was on a 2-fight losing streak, and I can't play this for you because they'll dick about it or whatever on the thing. And but if you watch this clip, it's on the 7 takeaways piece here. This hand, I don't know if it's which hand that she tries to poke her in the eye with, but she tries to poke her in the eye to get out of the chokes, a la Dale Brown Detroit Dust survival techniques, which are illegal in the UFC. And that's one of the things that Detroit survival guy likes to say. But the other thing is to show you, to proof that the eye poking shit don't work. It didn't work. She got poked in the eye twice, and she still choked this woman out. So, think about that when you're watching when you're making that guy go viral for his next gun disarm or whatever the hell he does. But she was on a 2-fight losing streak. Her opponent, not only did she do that dirty move poking her in the eye, but she didn't make weight. So I mean, you wonder how serious she was about being there. But either way, I mean, Robertson needed the win, and I'm glad she got it, and 30% of her purse. So funny thing was, like, people were going to asking about like disciplinary, if Dana White knew about the eye poke and he was going to do anything about it. He found out from Kevin Iole just before he did his stuff at the post-fight press conference. So he didn't say, he was like going to do a review or whatever. I wouldn't be surprised if news comes out this week that Priscilla Cachoeira is out of here. I mean, you miss weight and then you fight dirty. Come on, like, that's the UFC for what they're trying to be in the sport of mixed martial arts, or what they've made themselves out to be with the ESPN, and they're trying to get away from this dirty fighting. They're trying to make it as legit a sport as they can make it, even though it's still violence at the end of the day. So I wouldn't be surprised if they drop her ass out the UFC. And I'm trying to think. I mean, the first takeaway, if you don't know, I write this during fight week. Oh, so Sean O'Malley, he picked up another win last night, and it looks like Dana White is rethinking his strategy with him, as far as like paying him and giving him a ranked opponent, paying him more money. He said so at the post-fight press conference, and that's the only reason why I'm saying it now. But we almost got sold Garbrandt O'Malley. So I mean, people are like, "Oh, what are you gonna do with Garbrandt now? He picked up another loss." It was, I think if it makes dollars, it makes sense over at the UFC. I think we all know that by now, and they almost pretty much sold us on a. I mean, it was O'Malley's idea. He was like, "Let's square off now for our future fight that we might have." Um, if you want to keep on building O'Malley's star power and not do the ranked opponent thing, um, they kind of made that fight right there at the pre-fight press conference. Do we still want to see that now after the loss that Garbrandt suffered? I don't know. I mean, maybe. I know Garbrandt. He held the title at one point at 135. I mean, he beat Dominick Cruz. Um, that's probably the best version of him we ever saw. But then after that, I mean, I hate to say that I predicted the knockout, but I mean, and he was trying to be in it. I felt bad. I kind of felt bad watching him lose. And the I've talked about this before. And I was tweeting about it when O'Malley picked up his win last night. In mixed martial arts and combat sports in general, his body type, that somatotype of ectomorph, lanky, wiry guys, they're problems. They're problems in combat sports, whether it be grappling, boxing, whatever, MMA. Um, they're when they're good as good as O'Malley is, and the thing about O'Malley is people keep on trying to like hate on him. And I said this to somebody I was talking to uh, as we were going into the fight night. Um, this whole Machine Gun Kelly Post Malone vibe that he gives out. It's easy to hate on him for that, but don't let that blind you from what he does, what he's done. Like go look him up. I mean, you can see his fights from LFA on Fight Pass. Don't let that blind you from the fact that he's a good martial artist. I mentioned it. There's another thing I mentioned when we were looking at it when I did Coast to Coast Combat Hour was his when he competed on that Quintet Ultra, which was like the promotional. They're doing something. They're calling it the Grappling Invitational. It's this Thursday on Fight Pass. So like folks, the UFC is not in it. I don't think. But there's other like regional promotions that are on Fight Pass with good grapplers from those fighters competing in it. And when he competed in that Quintet Ultra, which is the same version of what they're going to do again, I hope they're doing the Quintet rules anyway. Don't quote me on that because I actually asked that question on Twitter this morning if that's the rule set. But when he did that, he was one of the better grapplers on the UFC side that I was kind of like, I didn't even know, because he's got so many striking finishes, you never really get to see his striking. So I mean his grappling rather. So it was it's easy to forget that he's a well-rounded fighter because of all of the hair and the tattoos and the weed and the Twitch streaming and all that stuff. But he's good at it, and why not? He's young and he's already doing other things for his personal brand and his career that whenever his fighting days are over, he's already going to have himself established in other things. So make sure you try to remember that before you cast judgment on the poor kid because he looks like he might smell like weed or whatever the shit that I see people say about him. But he's a good martial artist and that's why even myself as an old grumpy old man, when I do the analysis for the fights, it's like, this kid, but he's a good fighter. And the same can be said for anyone that has a gimmick that you don't like. Colby Covington. We have an interview with him on the MMAnews.com YouTube channel too. After recently that the Canadian God James Lynch did. I mean, he's another one that he's got a gimmick. Nobody likes it, but at the end of the day, he's a good fighter. So a lot of good fighters fought last night. So congratulations to all the competitors, winners and losers, because not enough credit goes to those that, what you guys are doing, men and women are doing in the combat sports. Not a lot of people would be jumping in line to do so. And you're doing it. I mean, you're doing it because you're chasing your own glory and stuff like that. But as someone that watches and covers the sport and is a fan, salute you. Congratulations to all of you. I think that's it for me for this Sunday. Luke Lopez, what do you want me to do with this YouTube channel? It's not mine. What do you want me to do? All right. But I know the person does see your concerns or whatever, but I appreciate you watching Home Slice. Enjoy your Sunday. I'll catch you next week. I'm tapping out. This is your Sunday submission. Make sure you give me a follow on Twitter if you want to check out the other work I do. Full results from UFC 269 and your other heavy UFC content will be up at MMAnews.com. Results, rumors, fights, bickering, all that stuff will be right there for you to read. And that's it for me. I'm tapping out. Peace. Have a good weekend, or enjoy the rest of your week, rather.